Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. May I extend to you a very warm welcome to our police officer attestation ceremony here at Stockport Town Hall. I'm Trevor Richards from the Uniform Training Unit. I'll be your MC for this evening, and I look forward to telling you about the journey the new officers here tonight have embarked on since joining Greater Manchester Police. Before we start the ceremony, I'd like to run through some housekeeping, if I may. Toilet facilities are just in the foyer where you enter the building. And please, if you would mind switching off your phone or putting onto silent. If you're required to take a phone call, then feel free to leave the room. Now, you may take as many photographs as you like from your seat during the ceremony. The force photographer will take official photographs of each officer as we go along. Clapping. Now, if you've ever been to a graduation ceremony like myself, you're there for 3 to 4 hours for 10 seconds of stardom for your loved one, and your hands are almost dropping off at the end of it. So if you wouldn't mind just clapping the officers when they march up onto the stage, that would be very nice. Thank you. What I'd like to do now, ladies and gentlemen, is just introduce a very short video highlighting what wonderful work we do here in Greater Manchester Police.
Hello, Greater Manchester Police, how can I help?
We've got officers on the way, so you stay in the car, okay?
Ladies and gentlemen, would you now please put your hands together and welcome the Chief Constable of Greater Manchester Police, Ian Hopkins, the Assistant Chief Constable, Nick Bailey, and our officiating magistrate this evening, Mrs. Joan Cooper. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for, to see your loved ones, the new officers, joining us this evening. Please put your hands together and welcome our new recruits. Thank you, officers. And I'd like to welcome Mr. Hopkins, Chief Constable, to say some words. So.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Stockport Town Hall. I'm not quite sure what was going on with the music in the video, but it did remind me of the few occasions that I dance with my wife. I'm always dancing to a slightly different tune than she is, but I hope it didn't detract from the meaning of what's in the video, which is supposed to depict the varied amount of work that our colleagues do day in, day out, right across Greater Manchester. One of the sort of housekeeping thing that I will mention this evening, normally when we swear in our new colleagues, they come up on stage, they sign their oath in front of the magistrate, they shake hands with the magistrate, they shake hands with Nick, my Assistant Chief Constable, as they get their warrant card, then they shake hands with me. There will be no shaking hands tonight. There will be lots of smiling of congratulations going on, but clearly, for reasons that everybody's aware, we're trying to limit the amount of handshaking. So, can I offer you all a very warm welcome here this evening to what is a very special ceremony. This is a legally binding ceremony, as the oath could not be sworn unless it is in the presence of a magistrate. And I would very much like to welcome yet again our magistrate, Joan Cooper, here this evening, who, without Joan's support and that of some of her magistrate colleagues, we wouldn't be able to have these legally binding ceremonies. It is a real pleasure that we're joined at Stockport Town Hall this evening by the Deputy Mayor of Stockport, Councillor John Wright, and the Deputy Mayoress, Christine Wright. You're both very welcome to be with us at our ceremony this evening, and thank you for allowing us to use these wonderful surroundings for our ceremony. Tonight our officers swear an oath to be impartial and fair to everyone that they deal with, and to serve Her Majesty the Queen. In taking an oath this evening that gives my new colleagues unique powers over their fellow citizens, it gives them the power to take away their liberty and, where necessary, to use reasonable force. But of course, with this unique power comes unique responsibility and unique levels of scrutiny. So to my new colleagues, as you stand before your peers, families and members of this community swearing the oath, it's something that is very powerful and is your commitment to each other and to the public of Greater Manchester, that you're dedicating yourself to a life of public service and the highest standards of integrity. It means that you have to set the highest standards for yourself, both in your personal and your professional lives. Now, you're joining the police service in a world that is very complex, and the role that you are undertaking is complex and challenging, and certainly more so than when I joined the police service in January 1989. At that time, DNA technology had not been introduced. No one had heard of a mobile phone or 24-hour news, or let alone thought of the internet. And now you'll find yourselves dealing with crimes committed in cyberspace, dealing with victims that are from very different parts of the world, and the scrutiny that you face in relation to your actions is significant. In many ways, this is what you would expect, given those unique powers that I spoke of earlier, that we hold over our fellow citizens. You're constantly filmed, and anything you say may be posted on social media and around the world in minutes. If there's one thing that I would ask you never to forget, it's that. Whatever your journey that has taken you to this point in joining Greater Manchester Police, you're all part of our ambition to build the most effective team with the most talented people that we can attract from our diverse communities right across Greater Manchester. And tonight is a significant moment in your police career, and one that you will always remember. And I want to take the opportunity to remind you why policing is so important to society and what should drive you every day. Now, all of us are very privileged to live in a democratic society. And one of the fundamental pillars of a democracy is that citizens should be safe both from physical harm and from discrimination. And Greater Manchester Police's purpose is to protect society and to help keep people safe. This is your purpose every single day. You should do your utmost to carry out this purpose to the best of your ability. But I want you to go beyond that purpose. You all have a responsibility to improve the service Greater Manchester Police provides each and every day, so that when you finally complete your service, you should be able to look back and say, I've done everything I can to leave Greater Manchester Police in a better place than when I started in 2020. Put simply, you are the future of policing. Please don't waste that opportunity. And this is partly why we hold these services, these celebrations, away from police premises, as I want you to swear your oath in a more public setting, and I want to reinforce with you that we're here to serve the communities of Greater Manchester and to keep the people of Stockport, the people who work in this building, we're here to keep people like this safe every single day. Now, as a police officer, you never know from one day to the next what you will face. And over the last few months, we've been very busy, as always, across Greater Manchester Police, dealing with some really significant crimes. You may have seen the media reporting around the conviction of one of the most prolific rapists in the UK history, to some of my officers recovering Christmas presents that were stolen on Christmas morning when the family woke up to their home being burgled, and the tenacity of the officers who carried out that investigation and within 6 hours had arrested the perpetrator and recovered all of the Christmas presents, through to a couple of our colleagues being very seriously assaulted just before Christmas by a violent crowd. One of them was knocked unconscious, another pushed to the floor and stamped on. And it just demonstrates the variety of work that we're involved in, but also some of the risks that you face on a daily basis. And that's why you have to maintain your professionalism at all times. I'm sure that given the very tough selection process that you've been through, you will rise to this challenge. What you can rely on is that Greater Manchester Police is a team, and teams look after each other. So when you need help, guidance, or a shoulder to cry on, there will be somebody there to support you. Now, I'll say a few more words at the end of this ceremony, but for now, I wanted to wish you all an absolutely fantastic career and to say, be very proud of being a Greater Manchester police officer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The new officers here tonight will be swearing an oath to Her Majesty the Queen. Can I therefore ask you to turn to page 3 in your booklets and stand for the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Officers remain standing. Our new constables are now going to take their oath. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will well and truly serve the Queen in the office of constable with fairness and integrity, diligence and impartiality, upholding fundamental human rights, and according equal respect to all people, and that I will, to the best of my power, cause the peace to be kept and preserved, and prevent all offences against people and property, and that while I continue to hold the said office, I will, to the best of my skill and knowledge, discharge all the duties thereof, faithfully according to law. Thank you. Please lower your right hand. All be seated bar the front row. I now invite our new officers to sign their memorandums of appointment in front of the magistrate. Lubaba Abbas, James Adams, Yasir Ahmad, Sama Ahmed, Greg Ainsworth, Kane Alder, Yasmin Amarat, Anastasios Aberges, Mohammed Akil, Harry Ashworth, Asif Atcha, Joshua Atkinson, Niam Axon, Lauren Beaumont, Laura Beck, Alicia Blackburn, Christopher Bone, Connor Bradford, Lauren Brassington, Liam Brewster. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been jotting some things down that may be of interest to you about tonight's attestees. Your attestee is one of almost 750 new officers that GMP are taking on this year. Recruitment has been from both within the organisation and externally. All bring vital and varied skills to their role as a police officer. We are keen on diverse recruitment, and we're very proud to announce that tonight's cohort has 39 female officers. 9 of them have been special constables, 3 have been police community support officers, and 14 of them have been police staff. 37 of the cohort have a degree, and many have done voluntary work in their communities. We have a number of keen sports people, from netball players to shot putters, and someone who has cycled across Europe. It's very tiring. 8 of our officers are ex-military, and we also have an ex-lifeguard and an ex-emergency nurse. And as usual, and quite nicely, we have a few officers following in family footsteps joining the service this evening. All here tonight have dreamt of becoming a police officer and have that desire to help others. Greater Manchester Police is one of the biggest police forces in the country. We currently have 6,523 regular officers, 337 special constabulary, 3,952 police staff, plus 594 PCSOs, 179 volunteers, and 190 cadets. We were very busy last year. We dealt with 33,700 people missing from home, 29,500 burglaries, 17,500 shoplifting offences, 32,000 vehicle offences, 9,500 sexual offences, 66,000 domestic abuse incidents, 43,000 public order offences, and 9,000 hate crimes. We also seized 142 firearms, and were deployed to 505 firearms operations. A recent knife amnesty resulted in 632 knives being surrendered. And we also investigated 55 murders. And that just scratches the surface of what GMP deal with every day. We also deal with thousands of other crimes, as well as neighbourhood and community issues. We forge strong links with the community and with partner agencies, working together to reduce crime and improving people's lives. Can the following officers please come forward? Holly Brooks, Lindsay Browham, Paul John Brown, Bradley Burney, Christopher Chadwick, Luke Coles, Joseph Cook, Stephanie Cook, Dale Coward Barrow, Harrison Craven, Darren Crompton, Callum Cross, Joseph Durnelly, Michael Denny, Ross Derbyshire, Mohammed Ishmael Ditter, Hannah Dixon, Andrew Evans, Alana Fawcett, Alex Forsyth. Ladies and gentlemen, I expect you'd like to know how your new officer is going to be able to deal with all them incidents I've just told you about. Well, the first thing you need to know, as Mr. Hopkins said, is that no officer is on their own. We are Team GMP. We're a family, and we all pull together and support each other, and that starts on day one of training and continues every day after that. The students are allocated a Student Officer Assessor Development Coordinator. That's quite a long title, isn't it? Who's responsible for their training, support and development for their time in the workplace for their first 2 years. Initial training is 20 weeks. Then the officers continue to be monitored and developed during the first 2 years, which is known as their probationary period. I think it's fair to say that they will continue to learn all the time they're in the job, and professional development will be a key part of this. In the first few weeks of training, your officers will have an introduction to GMP and see many guest speakers. They'll be taught advanced communication skills and learn about human rights, the code of ethics, and equality issues. They will also start their diploma in policing, which can take up to 2 years to complete. Your officers this evening are being warranted with their policing powers, and this is a major step. They are now able to take away someone's liberty by arresting them. They can also stop and search suspects, force entry into premises, and seize property. They will soon learn about the correct use of arrests, cautions, and significant comments, and searching people after arrest. Later in the course, they will move to an area training base where they'll receive in-depth learning, including searches of vehicles, premises and land, as well as statement taking. They'll be taught, amongst other things, crime prevention, how to deal with victims and witnesses, how to gather and use evidence, how community policing works, how to acquire and use CCTV evidence, how to respond to incidents, how to identify and deal with hate crime, how restorative justice works, and most importantly, how to keep people safe and play their part in improving people's lives. Could the following officers please come forward? Thomas Fox, Georgia Galley, Lewis Gallop, Patrick Gagan-Shaw, Andrew Godding, Bradley Gordon, Nazimul Hakim, Emma Haywood, Jake Hurst, Matthew Hurst, James Hobin, Jonathan Holden, Francesca Hooley, Christopher Horton, Natasha Horton-Wilcock, Jack House, Jack Hunter, Case Hussein Khan, Stephen Ince, Sana Javed. Ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned previously, each student has a period of 2 years in which to complete initial training and then develop in their new role. Majority of the first 20 weeks is based in the classroom, but there are plenty of opportunities for the student to put into practice what they learn. This includes practical scenarios designed to test their decision-making and problem-solving. The officers are then placed on their districts for 10 weeks with a tutor constable who is responsible for ensuring they are ready for independent patrol. Then after 10 weeks on their districts, experience working on streets, they come back to the training school to work on a fictitious criminal case from start to finish. They will take part in an exercise that will give them the opportunity to produce a prosecution file from scratch. They gather evidence, compile statements, and other necessary documentation before submitting the file for checking. The case is then taken to court. And on occasions, we enlist Manchester University law students who are training as barristers and volunteer magistrates to make it as real as possible. Your officer will probably begin working on a local policing team on their district. They'll respond to incidents and get involved in problem solving and working with partner agencies and the community to tackle repeat problems. Offences like antisocial behaviour and shoplifting are committed by a tiny percentage of people in the population, many of whom are affected by drug or alcohol issues. Working effectively and efficiently with other agencies, we can help everyone involved. So in a nutshell, the role of your officer will be to deal effectively with the 3 V's: the vulnerable, victims, and the villains. They will need to stay positive and to treat every person they meet with dignity and respect. Can the following officers please come forward? Amy Elaine Yench, Alexander Johnson, James Jones, Ryan Key, Bethany Lee, Amy Leask, Mohammed Yangir Lagat, Zain Mahmood, Lydia Manboard, Catherine Mayo, Dean McCarthy, Kevin McLean, Daniel Meadowcroft, Mark Milner, Carter Mitchell, Christina Moore, Christopher Mulligan, David O'Meara, Isabella New, Catherine Nightingale. We've been recruiting officers on this scale, ladies and gentlemen, for the past 3 years. The first few groups of officers to be attested this way have now passed their probation and their policing diploma. This year, GMP Stars Awards, our annual awards ceremony, which I had the honour of attending, 2 of our new recruits, Michael Froggatt and Brandon Adams, were nominated for an award for first aid. They attended a call where the victim's throat had been slashed, and they kept him alive until paramedics arrived. Absolutely amazing. Another recruit, Stephanie Melvin, won the Top Student Officer Award for the compassion that she's shown dealing with many serious incidents. She builds a brilliant rapport with all the people she comes into contact with and has an ability to calm potentially life-threatening situations down. She's a wonderful officer. And just recently, whilst off duty, Tom Walker gave CPR to his neighbour and saved his life. So this is the calibre of the officers that we're attesting tonight. Absolutely wonderful. the following officers please come forward? Rumana Patel, Soeb Patel, James Pedder, Josh Pemberton, Matthew Podmore, Emily Punn, James Reardon, Lauren Roach, Georgia Roberts, Joseph Rolfe, David Rothwell, Alexandra Savage, Stephanie Scorer, Megan Searson, Amar Shams, Ryan Sharrock, Paul Simpsons, Chelsea Smith, Jessica Smith, Sophie Standing. The officers tonight who are being attested are to be deployed against all 10 districts of Greater Manchester: Wigan, Bolton, Tameside, Stockport, Trafford, Bury, Rochdale, Salford, Oldham, and the City of Manchester. The role of an officer is very varied, and no 2 days are ever the same. Initially, most will work on the neighbourhood or on response teams and may stay there for the whole of their career. There are, however, many other opportunities to diversify in the police. They may train to become a detective or specialise in particular types of crime, such as child protection or economic or cybercrime. There are roles in custody or counter-terrorism. They could also work in the operational control branch. They also may wish to train to be an armed officer or work with the dogs or horses. Many officers later on in their career become trainers, imparting their knowledge of the law onto new recruits. The list is endless of what they can do or what they can be. One thing they are guaranteed, though, is they will never be bored. Following officers, please come forward. Nicole Standish, Callum Steggles, Joe Street, Leslie Sykes, Philippa Sadowska, Adam Telfer, Shauna Thompson, Alistair Tomlinson, Jazz Warren, Aidan Welsh, Chloe Williamson, Connor Woodward, Hazel Wright, Olivia Yeo, Stay on, Nicole. Get your warrant cards in your pocket. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know what you're thinking. My officer is special. My officer will rise to the top of the tree and take over as the Chief Constable. Well, one of the officers here tonight, yours, may well do that. However, they need to work hard and currently need to be promoted through all 9 ranks. Constable, Sergeant, Inspector, Chief Inspector, Superintendent, Chief Superintendent, Assistant Chief Constable, and Deputy Chief Constable. Then, if they work hard and they're lucky and they are as special as you think they are, then one day your officer might get to be the Chief Constable of Greater Manchester Police. Thank you, officers. I'd now like to invite Chief Constable Ian Hopkins to close tonight's proceedings. Sir.
It's one of the most pleasurable things that I get to do as the Chief Constable, welcoming our new colleagues. And it's always so uplifting when they come up to meet us and they're full of smiles and energy and enthusiasm, and some of them are in such a hurry they forget their certificates, so they're clearly destined for high things. And it's fabulous for us as an organisation that we've got new people coming into GMP. For many years, from 2010 right the way through to 2016, we weren't able to recruit anybody. And that's not healthy for the public in terms of the service that we deliver, but it's not healthy for the organisation, that effectively you start to stagnate. So it's wonderful that for the last year or so we've been bringing in new colleagues in such large numbers. They are large numbers, but we lose about 500 officers a year through retirement. So they're replacing those that are retiring, and for the first time in a very long time, this year and next year, we are actually seeing some growth in officers. So by the time we get to March 2021, because of the rises in the local council tax and because of the government programme, we will have actually seen a further 647 officers grow beyond where we were a couple of years ago, which is certainly very welcome for our colleagues out on the front line who are battling day in, day out to deal with the demands placed on the organisation. But that said, that still leaves us around 1,400 officers less than we were in 2010. So it just shows you the level of demands that we still face as an organisation. And of course, when we're recruiting in such numbers, it puts additional burden on some of our colleagues, the training staff that are here this evening from Sedgley Park, and then the officers that tutor our new colleagues when they go out to their divisions. And they've been constantly, for the last couple of years now, working through new cohorts, trying to give them the best experience that they can and equip them to be able to be the best that they can be when they go on independent patrol. So I wanted to say thank you to the training staff and to the tutor constables out on divisions that look after our new colleagues, because they do a fantastic job. A couple of other thank yous, Wendy and Zoe, who are down there at the front, who organise all of this and make it happen, and Chris behind me, who is ever present in organising us and making sure that there is a record of the attestation this evening. And it just made me sort of smile to myself really about how far policing has come, that we hold a ceremony like this in a very public way with representatives, elected representatives of the local community here. And yet, when I took my attestation, my swearing-in ceremony, we were marched off in the middle of the afternoon to a magistrate's court where we swore the oath and then went straight back to the classroom. No family, nobody present, no record of that event ever taking place. And not only do we do it in a public way, but we live stream it on Facebook. And it was wonderful speaking to one or two of our colleagues as they came up, whose families can't be with them this evening, but they are watching live on Facebook. So a big welcome to you if you're watching this over the internet. Families are really important in terms of the support that you will give. You will have given enough support to enable them to get to this point. But you are there, you are the rock that will support them going forward. Policing is not an easy career. We deal with some really challenging situations. We deal with people often at the lowest ebb of their life, often in very desperate circumstances, who sometimes have committed the most appalling acts of crime against other fellow citizens. And when we go home, you're the people that we go home to. You're the people that will listen. You're the people that will smile when we need that reassuring smile. So can I just say thank you to all of you for the support that you give to our new colleagues, and welcome you to be part of the Greater Manchester Police family. It is important. As I said, it's a really difficult job, and on occasions we deal with some really traumatic things. So you know, we have got significantly better as a police service about talking about some of those things that affect us, not being afraid to actually have those conversations with each other, and not try and hide behind some sort of macho facade that we're all roughy-tufty people and can deal with anything. There are times when all of us need some support, and there is a very, very strong programme of support within the organisation. But we're also supported by our chaplaincy, and we have two of our chaplains, Charles Nevin and Barry Lomax, here this evening. The chaplains do a great job right across Greater Manchester. You don't have to have faith or be of a particular faith. They will talk and listen to anybody that needs their support. And so thank you for your continued and ongoing support, both of you. There are a number of my colleagues here from our territorial divisions who will want to meet you afterwards, and my senior colleagues will want to say hello and welcome you to their particular division. They're not competitive. They won't tell you that their particular part of Greater Manchester is the best and you're coming to work with the best team. I can assure you of that, because we're one team. But they will have a slight slant on what they think of their particular area. Now, policing is changing, and it will continue to evolve. Technology in particular has really driven changes, not only to the way that we police, but also to the way that criminals use technology. And I don't see that slowing down one bit. You know, I talked about the internet and things like that, and people filming what we do. That's just one part of it. There is not hardly an investigation that we do these days where there isn't an aspect of digital media that we're having to seize, we're having to assess, we're having to analyse, we're having to present in court. And that's a long way from where many of us that joined the service when we were learning about how you investigate crime. It's a very long way from the sorts of things that we did. And to give you an idea about how we utilise some of that technology from an investigative point, we've had a couple of pretty serious offences in the most recent past, where there was a murder in Salford, and part of the evidence that was used to convict the murderer was the GPS data from their fitness watch that put them at specific points in our investigation at specific times that gave them absolutely no alibi to say that they weren't there. And we deal with a lot of domestic abuse, and we've recently dealt with a case where the perpetrator had used the fridge door to smash the fridge door against the victim's head several times. And because of the Internet of Things, the fridge was connected to the internet, and the internet was able to tell us exactly when and where that fridge door had been opened and corroborate the victim's story. These aren't the sorts of things that you read about in the paper, but these are the sorts of things we're having to exploit to bring people to justice. But similarly, the criminals are exploiting technology through Bitcoin, through encrypted devices to try and prevent us bringing them to justice. So I tell you this because it's a very different world that we operate in, and a very different world that our new colleagues are going into. And the reason for saying this is you need to change. So what you're learning today, what you're learning tomorrow will be different in 5 and 10 years' time. So you have to evolve. You have to be wanting to push change. You want to be curious about the areas that you work in, the problems that are there. Be curious about the solutions that you want to help bring to make our areas across Greater Manchester safer. And I'll end with this, and this is specifically for my new colleagues in front of me. Policing does give you the opportunity to do something very special, and that is make a difference to fellow citizens' lives. And not everybody gets to do something that special when they go to work. So please treasure that opportunity and make a difference whilst being proud of being a Greater Manchester police officer. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for them very inspiring words. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our attestation ceremony. I do hope you've enjoyed this evening. I think it's been wonderful to see these new recruits. Refreshments will be served very shortly. The officers are going to stay here with Chris and have a photograph very shortly. But before we do that, can we just give them one round of applause again? Because I think they've been wonderful.